It was clearly not an essential decision. We don't trust you anymore. We don't trust the decisions that you're making because you're saying that things are essential cuts, and then you're blowing money just months later. Blowing money. I've never heard of anybody who resigned who was paid to not work. 5 men lost their jobs, $125,000 savings. And then you turned around and spent twice that for somebody not to work. We don't trust you. We don't believe that you're telling us this is exactly what we have to do because this is the only money we have available. Well, we don't really believe that you're looking in the places that you should be looking. You need to start at the top and start cutting the fat. Because the people who are at the bottom do the most amount of work for the least amount of money and have the most impact on our kids. I'm going to continue. I actually tonight printed out around 6:30 in the evening the 460 plus signatures that the petition has had. I also have 12 pages of comments from parents, from people who are employed in other districts where they have outsourced paraprofessionals and are suffering horrendously because of it. I really believe that you guys can do your job. I think that we are a community. Believe me, I went through the parent directory name by name and emailed everybody. And in those names, I see some of the most successful and gifted and innovative people. Our parents, look around. Like, we're talking about success stories here. Clearly, there are people in the community who can aid you and assist you in trying to make this budget work without sacrificing the people who are in our kids' faces for 6 hours a day. Paraprofessionals, and I felt bad because I didn't explain paraprofessionals to everybody. There are some people who think that paraprofessionals are just with the special needs kids or they act as the crossing guard. No, the paraprofessionals are in the classrooms with our children. The teacher stands at the front of the classroom and teaches. The paraprofessionals are the ones who are sitting right next to our kids like this, helping them to write, to draw, to color, to do the things that they need to do. That is not something that we need to outsource. I think that we can all agree outsourcing, it saves you money. Yes, that's it. There is no other. You can cut programs in music, you can cut programs in art, you can cut math and science, and there are things in the community, there are ways for us to make up for those losses in small ways. But when you're talking about the direct relationship between a child and a caregiver, in that child's formative years, there is nothing can make up for a mediocre experience with a caregiver. Nothing. There's no community program. There are no donations from a corporate center. Nothing can make up for that. And I'm sorry I wasted your time since it's not on the table for this budget, but clearly it's going to be a consideration in the future, and it's not one that we're willing to sacrifice. So.
Excuse me, at this time I'd like to put something in perspective here that's been addressed a few times. As a new superintendent here, I would like to, there was a comment made last week about the staffing, that we would revert back to the staffing of 2001. And I want to applaud this board because back in 2001, we had 481 staff members in the district. Today we have 579. And because of the needs of our children in this district, in that time, we hired 90 teachers, 38 paraprofessionals to deliver instruction to the children in this district. Also during that time, I have to put this out there, we had 20 administrators in 2001. We have 20 today. We also, the board over those years have now 3 less secretaries, 1 less non-affiliated staff, 5 less building and grounds, and I know that's offset by some outsourcing. But I applaud this board for over the 13 years since 2001, when we've increased enrollment by 400 students, for responding and adding 90 teachers and 38 paraprofessionals to this staff. Now, because of those numbers, obviously in tougher times, those are the positions that sometimes have to be looked at, unfortunately. So this is something that they've responded to over the last 13 years. And now when we're faced with caps and these challenges, unfortunately, those 128 people who we hired directly in the classroom, unfortunately, that's where we have to face. But I do want to, I also wanted to make a point that the administrative staff is the same as it was in 2001. Different people, maybe different job responsibilities. But the focus here has been the classroom, the focus has been the children, and the focus has been hiring teachers and paraprofessionals in this district. Thank you.
Yes, hello, I'm Natalie Fleming, and I live at 24 Castleton Lane. And I guess my first point is just a question. Are you firing a guidance counselor at the high school? Terminating and ending one? I saw that there was up on the chart that there was some sort of a restaffing or restructuring of the guidance at the high school that was still on the table, and I just wondered what that restructuring entailed.
The reinstatement of the guidance position is one of the banked cap recommendations.
So there will be no cuts at all?
If the board accepts those recommendations, yes.
Okay. And I guess the other question is, have you already sent out layoff notices to teachers for the coming year based on your prior cuts that you thought you were going to make?
We have not given we've had informal conversations. We've not given any formal notifications at this point.
Okay. And I guess my comment would be I have 3 children, 2 boys who are freshmen at high school and a 6th grade girl, and it's just very surprising to me that you would make cuts in the high school teaching staff. As a number of people have said, the other cuts seem to be based on decreasing enrollment, and I appreciate that, but I haven't really heard any justification for why it's okay to make cuts at the high school that are not based on declining enrollments. And I guess, every stage of a child's development is critical, certainly, but high school certainly is a critical stage, and it's critical not just developmentally, but it's also critical for their success in later life and their success in getting into college and so forth. And smaller class sizes seem to be very helpful in success for the students, not just in terms of the actual classroom time, but as you know, there's a 12th period that occurs after school at the high school, and it's already can be kind of busy during 12th period with a lot of students wanting help and so forth. And I just can't imagine if those class sizes were even higher, that program or that time wouldn't be even, the efficiency and effectiveness wouldn't be further diminished. So I would ask that, again, I guess, you sort of dig deep and think hard about whether there's any other place that cuts can be made besides getting rid of teachers, because as many people have commented, they're what we think of when we think of school. We think of the teachers because they have our kids all day. And so I guess, and as someone's mentioned, it does affect the rating of the school, et cetera. And those are kind of the, I guess, the practical considerations and the rational considerations. But I do want to comment on one other thing, which is, there's a human element too. And I know that you have to crunch numbers, but my view of these teachers in this district is that many of them, I think, could have been doctors, they could have been lawyers, they could have made some significant money. And they chose teaching, and I think it's an avocation for them and not just a vocation. And they're with my children all day, and my children come home and they tell me great stories about what the teachers told them. And I've met and I've become friendly with many of their teachers. And I am so impressed and so proud to have my children spend time with them. And it just seems to me that the teachers should be the very, very last place that we look to make any cuts in this district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Brooks. I live at 11 Valley View Terrace. I have 4 daughters. My oldest graduated from Moorestown High School. I have a junior at the high school, an 8th grader at WAMS, and a 4th grader at the UES. We've been here 14, 15 years. All my girls went to Roberts, all had Mrs. Williams, all graduated, and couldn't be happier with Moorestown. So every topic, they're not little, every topic that's been discussed, whether it be cutting teachers at the high school, which is a concern, or the pay to play, or the paraprofessionals, or one-on-one, all of it, it's got my head reeling, and I don't even know where to begin. But I have a 4th grader who's a special needs, who has an IEP, and she went to Roberts preschool development program, and she's doing great at the UES. And it scares me that she might not have a one-on-one, or it might be outsourced to somebody, because she's, she just needs to, she has Mrs. Calhoun right now, and before that she had Mrs. Resnick, and they're her world. So she's probably going to have an IEP all through high school, and I don't want it to be a stranger with her. So that's the first thing. That got me really emotional. But the other thing is the pay to play. I have 2 daughters that play sports. My junior's on the varsity soccer and lacrosse team. My 8th grader's going down the same road. And I'm a middle-class mom. I'll figure out a way to do the pay to play. I'll steal from Paul to pay Peter. I'll do it. Because I'm not going to cut my daughter to be a varsity player, or my 8th grader. That's all they care about is, MG Lax and MG girls soccer. And it's all I hear about all the time. So just try to figure out a way. I mean, it's a pride thing. Like, my girls wear their Moorestown sweatshirts, and they are like the proudest girls. And I have a part-time job in the mall at night, and I see people that come in, kids that don't have a direction. I can see them. I know who they look like, and whether it's theater or sports or singing or music, these are important to our kids, and they keep them on the right track along with our teachers. So I know you have a hard job, and I'm sorry, I'm so emotional, I gotta go. Anyway, thank you.
My name is Joanne Broder Summerson, and my address is 245 North Riding Drive. I'm going to try to keep this as short, sweet, to the point as possible. One, I think moving forward, and I can't speak for the rest of the community, but I hope that we become more solution-oriented, and I hope we don't make this an us versus them situation. We're here to work together, and as it's mentioned, we do have a talented room of parents who can help with these issues. I think there needs to be more collaboration. And I think one simple solution for the here and now to start is maybe setting up something simple like a social media page, like just so that parents can discuss these issues and we don't have to wait to come to these meetings that, I just got here. I had another obligation. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to be here that can't. So just to keep everybody involved and to collaborate and to work with you, not against you. That's it.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Roberts at 121 Oakmont Drive. A quick question that I have is, when you put the revised budget for this year, you put down about the study of a school schedule development of $50,000. My question to you would be, why have something that you're going to pay $50,000 if you already have a director of curriculum that has 8 staff members? Isn't that their purpose? Is that not? That would be a question.
Yeah, I think, just turn the mic on. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, the board and the district made a commitment to do some strategic planning, which many districts do.
Can you elaborate what that means?
Well, you're taking a look at your entire program. You're bringing in people from the outside, basically experts, to look at your program and to work with you, to possibly make suggestions and changes. So I think that commitment was started, and we heard from loud and clear that it didn't continue. So we're looking to continue that now as another area that we can look at our entire program and perhaps bring in experts, obviously, who do this for a living, and many districts do bring in for strategic planning, and that's a wish of the board that we go in that direction.
At a hefty cost of $50,000, where you supposedly have hired the best of the best for having 9 people, I mean, a director, and then 8 other people working for this person?
Correct.
But they're not the best of the best, so you need somebody on the outside? Aren't they supposed to be?
We're all the best of the best here.
Okay.
Our teachers, administrators,
I
our
agree with the
kids,
teachers. I commend the teachers immensely. But my question that I'm having is, if we're looking at cutting programs for everyone with pay to play and so forth, $50,000 to me sounds like a waste if we already have people in the district right now, and I'm assuming that's their job, correct? With the 8 other people working for this director with curriculum. So I'm assuming that you have content supervisors, is that?
Those supervisors would be an integral part of the whole process of strategic planning.
So then my suggestion would be to look at this $50,000 as maybe something not to do right now, since we don't have that type of money on the table, if we already have things in place. Thank you.
Good evening, Matt Vitovich, 26 Spruce Court. My wife and I moved here a little over 10 years ago from a brand new home that we were very happy with, specifically to bring our children that were young at the time into what we considered to be one of the better school districts in the state. We made that decision knowing that there was going to be a price to pay in increased taxes, and we felt that that was definitely worth the investment. I maybe didn't know I was going to be spending so much time fixing up a older home that I had to sacrifice by giving up the brand new home, but I still consider it worth it. So as a taxpayer, whereas say when I drive to the Rite Aid, I kind of wince when I go by the new municipal building and think about what that's doing to my taxes, I'm perfectly willing to pay whatever it takes to send my children to a good school. In terms of some of what's being considered to be cut, my oldest daughter, who is now a senior, is getting ready to graduate and has just recently been accepted to Stockton State. Especially in high school years, she's developed a lot of problems in terms of attention and antisocial issues that if it wasn't for the child studies team as part of that, we would never have been able to get her through high school. And I consider that to be a very important, maybe not for every student, but I think for those students like my daughter, I think it's very crucial that not be cut. And as part of her problems, one of the things that helped her, because she's not athletic, her extracurricular activity was the theater and the choir. Those things that also seem to be the first to get looked at for being cut. Aside from otherwise maybe just having spent all her time at home and in her room, she was able to get herself out of the house and come here and participate in stage crew or participate in plays and participate in choir, and you could see almost a change in her attitude and the way she presented herself, her excitement over something like that, one of the few things that seems to get her excited. So I would ask that you use the knife very sparingly if you're going to look at those type of areas if you do have to cut things. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria Elena Trinchieri. I live in 579 Sentinel Road. First of all, I wanted to give you kudos for bringing back the language in the UES. Having grown up in 2 countries, I started learning English in kindergarten, as you can see. The fact that kids start learning another language in 4th grade to me was appalling at first, but the fact that you wanted to cut it shocked me, so I'm glad you're returning that. But my question is this, are you still cutting the music program for the 4th graders, or are they going to start orchestra in 4th grade now? Because that's what you said at the last meeting.
That is also one of the proposed reinstatements with the bank cap would be the music position as well.
Okay, so because I have a 2nd grader, 7th grader, and a 9th grader, and going to my 9th grader, I'm concerned with the pay-per play. I just wanted to say that with 3 kids and having them involved in many clubs and activities, and it adds up. And just take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I hate to say to go and cut teachers. I want the board to consider not to cut the teachers. That's one. If you are planning to move forward with that, what is the criteria you're going to use to pick the teacher? Is it going to be tenure or it's going to be meritocracy?
By contract.
Can you elaborate on that? What does contract mean?
It's both contractual and law, is how you go about.
Contractual and?
It's tenure, based on tenure and seniority.
So even if a teacher who is good has only 1 year of experience, they get eliminated first?
Unfortunately, that's the case sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
It also depends on your certification. Correct. Depends on the area that we're cutting.
So is that because of the law, or that's how it is?
Law and contract.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Atul Wadhwa at 705 Bentley Court. I have 2 boys who are in this district. This is my first meeting I've come to, so I'm first time actually speaking in this. I find, we also moved in this district about 10 years ago. And our goal was, we looked at all different school systems around here. We came from Cherry Hill and we moved here. And the purpose was, the school system is really good. And over the period of time, what we are seeing, there are a lot of programs that we think are very important for the kids. High school from K through 12 is the most important year for kids. This is when we build their pillars. This is when we launch them to the future. And for us to think of cutting the programs, such as language arts, special extra activities, guidance counselor in high school, that's very important. And we were thinking about cutting. I know we're saying we're restoring it back. Just to have it on that is appalling that we thought of those things to cut. My kids depend on those things. We don't go and look at these different sports, but for them to go and ask questions to guidance counselors, to learn about things, what should they be doing for next, college period. I think those extra surroundings are very important. And for us to increase the size of the, high school student classes, this is when we need to be shrinking it, not increasing it. This is very important for high school kids. And we heard it over and over. Ranking of the school matters. You're looking at, how kids apply to college matters. This is when they take all the tests to get into colleges matters. And then we are making it more difficult by increasing the sizes, which makes it harder for them to learn. I don't think we should be looking at teachers because they are the most important people in our school district and for our kids. Cutting 5 full-time teachers is just, I find it very hard to accept. I really feel that you all need to take a look at it, where next the budget should be coming from.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Holly Hellman. I live at 19 East Maple Avenue. And actually, I have a question for Mr. Powell. You were talking about a lot of things